beginning is a very delicate time. The planet is Arrakis, also known as Dune.
This is
the Hardcast.
It's time for another epically messianic episode of the Hardcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined by Victor.
Could I really be the one?
And Steven.
The man whose night is so Xeno.
Tonight's review/discussion is about the 1984 sci-fi epic, Dune, written and directed by David Lynchs and based on the Frank Herbert novel of the same name, starring Kyle MacLachlan, Jürgen Prochnow, Patrick Stewart, and Sting. Music by Toto. In the far future, the known universe is ruled by the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV. The most precious substance in the Galactic Empire is the spice melange, which can only be found on the planet Dune. The story concerns a young man foretold in the prophecy as the Kwisatz Haderach, or the universe's super being, who will protect Dune from all hostile invaders and eventually change the face of the whole planet. So, Steven, did Dune manage to awaken your little sleeper, or did you end up with a face full of Muad'Dib?
The way you said Muad'Dib, man. This movie was unbelievable. That's an understatement for how things progress through this movie. It's definitely one of those movies where if you didn't read the book, you will be confused. Even if you didn't read it, you can sit down and enjoy a hell of a good movie. It's going to be tough for the complex situations. It's better for someone who did watch the movie to sit down with you and explain the parts.
That's what Chris did with us. He's basically seen the movie plenty of times, and he's read the book, so he was explaining to us constantly what's going on, explaining some things that we wouldn't understand on our own if we didn't watch it more than once.
I've seen it pretty much like 6 times.
It's one of those things where you'll have to watch it more than once to fully understand how epic it was.
And let's just mention right now, get it out of the way, we watched it on HD DVD.
Yes,
so it
not
wasn't
Blu-ray.
1080p, great audio, great video, even for such an old movie. I mean, what do you guys think? It sounded pretty damn good, right?
I want to say, take that, Sony. Take that.
Yeah, man, HD should have never died.
Bro,
it's all about the HD.
The audio was something that has to be mentioned. It was ridiculous. The different situations from the movie, the explosions, just the basic dialogue from the people, everything was heightened. That's just one of those things you won't notice.
Yeah, the epic Toto soundtrack.
Okay, so how this movie starts out is definitely you've got different elements, clothing, the different planets, the environments. Each planet has a different tone. The Dune, which is the desert. The other places, the industry planet. Which one was that, Chris?
That's Gidi Prime. That's the home of the Harkonnen.
They actually show each planet during the movie. It's not all of them, of course. They all have a completely different environment. They have nothing to do with each other, and it just shows the amount of detail that went into it. The water planet, the Gaius Prime, like you said, Gidi Prime.
Gaius Prime.
Gaius Prime, yes. But definitely,
you just fagified that planet.
I just sacrificed it. Yes, I did. It starts out, you got Paul, which is supposedly the Messiah in legend. He's supposed to be this legendary.
Well, actually, it starts out with we get to meet the Emperor and we get to meet the Guild. Well, first of all, you meet the Emperor, you go to the planet. Crazy sets again because you're in the palace. And then the Guild show up, and this huge-ass entourage. These guys dressed up in these black outfits, and they're basically... from the special features, I found out they were actual body bags that they used. I don't think they told the guys who were in there, otherwise I don't think they would have got in them. It just gives you an idea of how crazy and creative they got with the costumes. They have this, I don't even know what to call it, but this huge transport thing, whatever, this has a Guild navigator in it.
Yeah, it's basically like a giant fish tank.
Yeah, I would say that. But instead of water, you got this spice gas in there, along with this crazy creature who was, I think, created by the same guy who created the E.T. creature. My friends and I, we used to joke around, we used to call it the pussy slug, because it has like a mouth that looks like a vagina. Anyway, the Guild, they show up after the intro, which has the princess, Irulan, played by Virginia Madsen, a very young Virginia Madsen. I'd say she's pretty hot. She's explaining how the spice is the most precious thing in the whole universe. They need it to travel through space. The Guild does. And if they don't have it, then there's a big problem. They want to make sure spice production is always going on. They go to the Emperor. They want an update. The Emperor says, I'm going to give Dune to the Atreides. The Harkonnen are going to leave, but it's all the Harkonnen are going to come back with my full support, my Sardaukar troopers, which are the elite soldiers of the Emperor, and they're going to wipe out the Atreides. The Guild is, all they care about is that Paul gets wiped out. They have a prophecy, and they think that he might be the one who is the Kwisatz Haderach, Messiah, super being, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, but could he really be the one?
I don't know. He could be. They're there to ensure that he takes care of that. Even though he's the emperor of the known universe, the guild is really the guys who call the shots because they control all space travel, all transportation. They're the ones who are able to fold space, and without moving, they can transport anyone anywhere.
I found it pretty interesting how him being the emperor of the universe, he still has to take orders from the guild. They're the big shot. They're the police of the universe. Whatever goes down, they're going to be there to clean it up. The emperor of the universe, for God's sakes, he's still afraid of these guys.
It's true. It's crazy. He's still got a big-ass ego because he's the emperor. When it comes to the guild, he's scared. I don't even look at the guild as the police. I would look more at them as like the mafia.
There you go.
They control a lot of stuff, and you got to do them favors for them to keep everything running smoothly, and they control everything, basically.
It's pretty ridiculous, the emphasis they have in this movie. They're there, and whatever they say goes. Basically shapes the entire progression of this movie. How it has to be with the spice and take care of this person. Paul, don't let anything mess up the plans. It was crazy watching them. And like I want to mention how when the transport came in, everything, like you said, everything was from the ground up. Like, and nothing was, no CG, no special effects. It's all like real. Like they took the time to build this movie piece by piece. Definitely something I was wow. They took their time. It was
a lot of model work, the costumes and everything. I'll mention now just real quickly that the whole movie was done in Mexico pretty much.
Mexico City.
Pretty much, yeah. It was I can't remember the name of it. There was a sound stage that they did it on, but it was all done in Mexico, and it was really, really hot when they were doing it.
Yeah, they will be the only ones to be able to build all that shit.
Yeah, for a low price.
Yeah.
It's all Victor's cousins, man. Back to the movie. You see Paul, we finally meet Paul, and you'll understand him, his mother, the Reverend Mother, who takes responsibility for telling everyone about the legend and training Paul. That part was ridiculous. What happens with him, she tells him to come in, no one else can interfere, and it's basically like a mental test. Is he ready enough to be his man?
Torture.
Yeah. She has this little magic box. It's a pretty simple box, but you wouldn't understand how it all works until you put your hand inside. She tells him, come over and put your hand inside. If you take it out, she puts a big old like nail claw right.
A needle that has poison on it, puts it right up to his neck. She's basically saying, there's enough poison on here to kill an animal. And he's saying, oh, are you calling the son of Duke Leto an animal? She says, no, I'm actually saying that you could be human, meaning if I don't have to stab you, you're human. If I do have to stab you, you're just an animal. The animal has no control of his mental abilities. It's just all instinct. And his instinct is to pull his hand out if he's an animal. But because of his mental training and his strength, well, he passes the test. With his hand in the box, she uses her mental abilities as Benny Gesserit's sister to trick him into thinking that his hand is first itchy, then there's a slight tingling, then there's a burning, and then the flesh is just melting off his hand, and you could see it.
Yeah, they actually show the hand and it's all burning up, and you can see the skin melting off. It's it's disgusting.
And it's supposed to be what he thinks is happening in his head. Pulls his hand out, and you realize nothing happened. The box was just there, so he couldn't see that there was nothing happening to his hand, and she was putting all these thoughts into his head using her powers. He passes the test. Actually, he passes the test better than anyone has ever passed the test.
Because she's like, no one's ever lasted that long.
And I remember when she says that, what does she say in her head, Victor?
Can he be the one?
Exactly.
Been prepared well. He had prior training like all his life. The Patrick Stewart character, the character that plays Patrick Stewart,
Gurney Halleck.
Yeah, their training was definitely different. They had these little shields on their belts. They activate the belt shields, and they come up as like polygon.
Those things are ridiculous.
It was weird. Like it was the first notion in the movie where, what the fuck is that? Like he's walking around as this polygon guy. Like a little. How would I explain it? I don't even know.
You know what he reminded me of though? He reminded me of like a see-through polygonal Gumby.
Gumby, there you go. That's a good comparison. You could see him inside. You see this big poly. It was cool because every time they'd clash, they actually fight each other, punching, kicking, and all that stuff.
But I think it was interesting because everything in the movie, the technology is kind of exotic. There's something weird about it, otherworldly. It just feels so weird. Like you've never seen something quite like that before in a movie, before or even after. Visually, the movie is very exotic and interesting, I think.
Yeah, and then they show you those weirding modules. Especially these kind of weapons that use sound that you make out of your mouth with your voices. It actually turns that into actual physical weapons.
Well, where else did you think they were going to make sound out of?
I don't know. They could have probably attached that shit to their ass. Something new somehow.
But if you're going to go to war, you'd have to eat a lot of chili.
Yeah, that's how you use your weapons, Victor. But everyone else uses their mouth. Jeez.
Steven loves to use his mouth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, those things also look pretty weird. They're basically these things that you attach to your head. It's sort of like a microphone. It's right next to your mouth. Then you just go, this shit, oh yeah.